Excited about the 2025 football season. We'll play our first game in less than a month here at home. Excited about that. Right out of the gate, should be a great game. Got Sam Houston coming here, big conference game. I know our guys will be excited, our fans will be excited. We've had a really good summer. Our team has worked extremely hard to get to this point. Feel like we have a very good competitive football team. We have a lot of new faces, obviously. So these next couple of weeks will be extremely important for us in putting all those pieces together. But we'll get started tomorrow morning with first practice and get rolling, and looking forward to it. With that said, questions?
Right, that week 0 matchup. You guys have done that before, but it certainly must compress things for you. But also against a Conference USA opponent. What are your thoughts on that playing Sam Houston right out of the gate?
Well, I tell you, I like it. You always, it makes for good college football. You better be on your game for sure, but love that it's at home. It's a big game, so it's great for our fans. It's great, for our team. I know they're excited about it. One game doesn't make a season, but you definitely want to get that one so that you can be off, to the race with conference play. But I'm excited to have that first game. I think it should be a good one.
Coach, you touched on it. You have a whole lot of new players on this team. How's the offseason been getting them acclimated with the program and the area and just getting ready for the season?
Yeah, I think we're in the high 50s as far as new players. What a great group, though. I mean, great men, honorable men, very passionate about being successful not only on the football field but in life. They've gelled extremely well together. I felt like we've had as good a depth as we've had since I've been here. What we got to find out is who are the playmakers. And since post-spring, since spring practice, we've added a lot more pieces. So we've been with those guys over the summer. We have a decent idea what guys can do, but now we got to put the pads on and see what we can do in live action. But really like the team. I like the depth. I think there'll be a lot of good competition across the board. Very few spots will you say, hey, there's a for sure starter right there. But there's a lot of talented players that we can work with for sure.
Coach,
whenever you bring in a lot of new faces, I mean, you talk about how they have gelled really well together. I mean, you can go into the transfer portal and get the best talent as possible, but that doesn't mean that they're going to play well together. I mean, how have you really seen these guys kind of step up and play as a team, and what are you kind of looking forward to building that upon whenever it comes to fall camp?
Well, on any football team, you want to have great camaraderie, and you want to have leadership within, and you want to be a player-led football team. And even though there's a lot of new guys, I thought right out of the gate there was a lot of good leaders on this football team, guys that stepped up, right away, really worked hard, were guys that you can count on, very competitive bunch. Again, I think we got to get the pads on and kind of see, who are the true players now. But I think they've gelled well. I think they've done well together. I think we got to really make some tough decisions, and let me say this too, a season is a marathon. My team here, I say that all the time. It's not a sprint, and so I tell the guys just how something starts doesn't mean how it finishes. It's going to take everybody for us to go make a run this season and compete for a championship, and that's the ultimate goal. So I feel like we have the group to do that, and we've got some good leaders here, and so we got to just put all that together now.
Coach, you've talked about your excitement bringing on Coach Bowie along with Maverick and Kyler. How do you see them elevating the offense this year?
Well, again, goes back, I think since day one Mav's come in, he's, really being with Rick, obviously knowing the system. He's a coach on the field. He knows what we're trying to accomplish. I think it's been a good mix of what we've done in the past and what Rick's brought, with his offense. I think, there's a lot of good sharing of ideas there, and Mav's the glue that puts it all together. And he's done a tremendous job over the summer. I talked about leadership. He is one of those guys that has been a good leader for us over the summer. I think guys respond well to him. And to speak to the quarterback room in general, that's a strong room. I really like that room. There's good competition there. Maverick will be the day one starter, but there's some guys in that room that, I expect good things out of, and if something happens, I would not want to miss a beat. And I'm excited to see those guys play as well. So, and that's for every position that we have.
You've been around a lot of great quarterbacks in this program, going all the way back to Brandon. Does Maverick compare with any of them as far as playing style, personality? Who does he most remind you of?
You know, he's his own guy. You know, I think when he's an older guy, he's almost 25. I think he's going on his 7th year of college football. You know, I was joking with him the other day. I said, I think we're probably out of waivers for you, bud. You know, but he, you know, when you get a guy like that, he has a pro mentality. He's a veteran player. He's smart. Just speaking to him individually, he's smart. He's got a chip on his shoulder. He's a competitor. He's been in a lot of fires. You know, I think he's got good timing. He's got a good feel for the pocket. He keeps his eyes downfield. You know, when things break down, he's not afraid to run with it. You know, he's not a guy that, you know, you're going to run a lot with him. You know, we've done that in the past with some quarterbacks. He's more of a thrower type. But, you know, he's got full command of the offense. And really, when you have a guy like that, I talk about giving the keys to the Ferrari to the quarterback. He's the guy that you can trust to have those keys.
Coach, a lot of changes coming with Conference USA and other conferences in the country. But what directly impacts you guys is Delaware and Missouri State entering for football. You play them back-to-back weeks. Let me just get your take on those programs and facing off with them for the first time.
Yeah, both those programs have good history. I expect those programs to be competitive in their first year, you know, and I think we got to be on our best game when we go play them. I've, you know, studied every conference opponent and looked at their roster and examined their coaching staff and try to just dot every I and cross every T. You know, I do that every summer. And I look across the board, not only for those two teams, but every team in our conference. I think there's a lot of parity. I think it makes for good competitive football, and you know, you got to be on your game every week. So when we go to play those two teams, we definitely have to be on our best game if we want to win.
Coach, you have one of the top transfer portals in the CUSA. What do you think played into that for this offseason?
Well, I think we have excellent history here of winning. You know, I think our leadership from the university side, from President Caboni to our athletic director, Todd Stewart, it's really a culmination of the resources that we have here. And so when we recruit one, we have a recognizable brand. And, you know, when players come on campus here and they see our beautiful campus, they see our facilities, they get around our leadership, around our people, this is a place they want to be at. And so it makes our job a lot easier from a recruiting side. And in today's NIL world, you know, it's more than just the money. It is, hey, well, I have an opportunity to position myself to be on a platform to, you know, showcase my brand and see how far I can go. Can I move on and be a draftable player? And we've done that the past 4 years. We've had guys in the first 3 rounds. So when you have that history, I think it makes it a lot easier from a recruiting standpoint. And so you just add all that up, and that's why we've been able to have success from a recruiting standpoint in the portal.
What are you looking for from your offensive line and your running game in particular?
Yeah, good question. A lot of new faces there. I think, you know, Marshall Jackson is probably the only for sure returning starter there. A lot of depth, a lot of competition. I couldn't tell you today who, you know, if you said, Coach, guess who the starting 5 are, I couldn't tell you. You know, that's a good thing. They definitely, you know, big men in the trenches win championships on both sides of the football. And so we got to be good in the D-line and the O-line. I feel like we have the guys to do that. We got to have that offensive line protecting Maverick and giving him air so that he can go do his thing. But I like those guys. They work well together. Coach Joe Bernard, the offensive line coach, has done a great job over the summer with those guys. When I talked about gelling, camaraderie, I really speak of that group, you know, and those guys really lead the locker room. And I'm talking about both sides, D-line and offensive line. So your big men lead the way, and definitely we have a group that can do that.
Is there a position group, as you think about them as a whole, that you maybe have to worry less about? Which one are you most confident with at this point in the year?
Position group wise, you know, I really couldn't put it. There's so many new faces, you know, and there's so much competition. I really couldn't answer that question. I know the quarterback, you know, it's going to be Maverick. And so sitting here today, I think, you know, We think he can be a good, solid player for us. But let me say this, even though we have a lot of new faces, I really like the guys we have. I think we have a lot of talent to work with. When you talk about the receiver position, there's as much depth as we've ever had there. You look at the secondary, there's as much depth as we've ever had there. You know, DeMarco really is the only for sure returning starter along with Kent. So there's a lot of questions in the secondary, but I think the depth piece makes for us feeling confident that we have what we need to go win football games more than anything.
Coach, over the offseason, Upton was drafted, of course, then a couple other guys signed post-draft. Just what's your message to the players on this team that, you know, if you keep working, you can get to that next level here from WKU?
Yeah, I think just our daily habits more than anything speak for themselves. When you're recruiting a guy, that's good to tell them that and show them that. But we've done a great job here at Western Kentucky of, again, I talk about our brand being a recognizable brand. So I think the history speaks for itself. So guys already know when they come here, hey, I can be on that platform to be a high draft pick. And our players love being here. You know, Malachi Corley was out here for summer workout last week. You know, Upton was here a couple weeks ago before they started preseason camp. So those guys are around, and our current players see them, and they get to talk to them and tell them about their process. And so it's been beneficial because I think, again, this year we'll have a guy or two that might be in that position again. So he'll lean on all those guys that went before them and try to learn from them. But the history, again, kind of speaks for itself.
Just looking at this group that you brought in, a lot of these guys do have experience. Was that something that you were targeting? I mean, these aren't, you certainly have some guys that came from P4s that maybe were looking for more playing time, but many of the guys that you brought in were already playing at the programs they were at.
Yeah, I think anytime you look for a transfer guy, it's for a specific purpose, right? You want a veteran player, particularly an older guy that's had a lot of experience, that has played, you know, that understands the why behind what you're doing. And, you know, so that's really our MO here, is trying to find those guys that have played a lot of snaps, that have had success at whatever level they have been at, and they fit a specific need for us. You know, we'll also sign some younger transfers that we think are really talented. You know, maybe they haven't played as much, and they know that they weren't going to get that opportunity to play early on. Maybe it was a P4 or something of that nature. And we see that value as well, you know. But generally, most cases, you're looking for a specific need, and you want some of those older guys that have played a lot of football.
Coach, you brought in 2 new defensive coordinators. What were some bright spots that you kind of saw in those guys when you were bringing them in?
Just how well they work together, you know. There's really no egos. I love our staff as a whole. One of the best staffs I've been around, as guys that I trust. They know what they're doing. They understand my vision of the program. And really, when you look at our coordinators in general, all our coordinators, offense, defense, and special teams, it's really allowed me to step back and look at areas that I need to focus on, whether that's recruiting, fundraising, game planning, operations, all those things that sometimes when you're focused and you're not quite sure if you need to totally remove yourself from that. But really, all our coordinators, I have the confidence in, and they got this thing. And I'm really looking forward, because they're all new on offense and defense, to those guys going out there and leading their groups, because I think they'll do a great job for sure.
I was kind of looking towards the future a little bit. I mean, the building right outside, I mean, it's set to be done around mid-season, I guess. I mean, you've been around this program for going into your 7th year. I mean, and you've dealt with the Kentucky weather and everything like that. How do you expect for this indoor facility to really impact you all whenever it comes to being able to finally be able to use it this season?
It'll be a great benefit to our program, not only football, but all sports, and to the Bowling Green community. I think it'll be something very special. I'm looking forward to getting in there. With the heat here recently, it would have been nice to get in there, you know, but it should be done here, hopefully, in the next couple weeks or so. And we will definitely utilize that, you know, just the opportunity with the space piece and the convenience of being able to use it. should be a huge benefit for us. So, and it's a fabulous facility. Our administration and our university did a great job with that project. It's going to be one of the best, to be honest with you.
You mentioned there's a lot of parity in this league. I was wondering if there's anything else about CUSA that comes to mind as far as style of play, identity, what the league's all about. How would you describe Conference USA?
I think Conference USA is always, you know, you look at, let's start with the coaches. I mean, there's just so many excellent head coaches in this league, and guys that, you know, I think are strong leaders, to be honest with you. And there's a lot of new head coaches in this league this year. And this league's had to recreate itself over the years, but every time it's done a fantastic job of doing that. You think of a lot of the new members that have come in, people say, well, we may not recognize that name, and then 3 years down the line, it is a name they recognize. You know, I think of when we first started out with Conference USA, not a lot of people knew an FAU, and FAU became a recognizable name. You know, UTSA became a recognizable name. Now you look at current Conference USA, I think, you know, there's probably 3 or 4 teams that you could go anywhere in the country and they say, hey, that's a recognizable brand. You look at the new teams that are coming in, like we mentioned earlier, a Delaware, a Missouri State. I expect those guys to compete early, and I wouldn't be surprised if this year there are some big wins, some P4 wins, you know, just because of the strength of the coaching. So I think it's a fun league, it's a competitive league, and I think it's a league that's going to continue to grow, to do some great things. And you look at kind of over the next 3 to 5 years with, you know, they say 2030 is the new, when all the dominoes fall and there's restructuring from all conference standpoints. I think Conference USA will be in a really strong position, you know, and the main thing is control what you can control. And here at Western Kentucky, we want to have a strong brand, a recognizable brand, a really successful program, so that we're always in a position to be in the best place. And I think we're in a really good conference right now, and Conference USA has really done a good job establishing that.
Coach, you talk about your brand and being a recognizable brand. With the way that the era that we're in for college sports, with the majority of rosters looking at new guys coming in, are you excited about incorporating that identity into that brand?
Yeah, I definitely think so. I think people all the time, when they think of us, they go, okay, who's going to be the next big name coming out of Western Kentucky? Generally, it's a new guy, you know, a guy that transferred in, or it can be a guy that's been in the program. But I think when you're in this new NIL portal world, there's just going to be so much transition that really, for us, we have to be a great mixture of the great stories of, hey, an in-state guy like a Malachi Corley that got developed, but also, hey, there's a Bailey Zappi, you know, that came in, and what a great story that was that year. We just want to be a part of the national conversation more than anything. You want to be known for something. And for us here at Western Kentucky, we're known for a lot of things. One, we have the #1 mascot in college football, right? You go back and look at last year, I think a couple times we're on ESPN Game Day. Not very many teams can say that. You know, you wear this logo every time I go down to Nashville and I'm walking through the airport, a major airport, everybody's saying go Tops, you know, so that's a big deal. And I've been at other programs that you didn't get that, you know, so we have done a great job of that. I think we'll continue to build this. I think you're going to look up in the next 3 to 5 years, and our brand is going to be something really, really special.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, appreciate it.